Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another layer by layer. In this tutorial, I want to take a look at this project here, and we're going to make a simple mount for the Circuit Playground Express. So this is a Christmas tree project where we have this really nice kind of Christmas tree topper that goes on top of the Circuit Playground Express. The NeoPixels create this really nice lighting effect. But I needed to create a base, sort of a mount for the Circuit Playground Express to house the PCB and a battery. So what we came up with is a really neat way to snap fit the PCB into the mount without any hardware screws. So that works really well. You have enough room for a battery to go underneath it and the proper cutaways for connections and things. So let's get started with it. So I would suggest downloading our Circuit Playground Express 3D model, and this is available on our GitHub repository. This GitHub repo has all of our parts, not just Circuit Playground, but all of the PCBs, feathers, screens, buttons, that sort of thing. So check it out, links in the description. So once you have this downloaded, you can download it as a step file or as a Fusion 360 file or even an STL, and it has some nice components that are one-to-one scale of the real ones that are on the real board. So I made a new document, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring it in. So right-click, insert into current design. This will bring it in and lay it flat on the bed here. I'll just leave all these default distance values to there. So hit OK. So now it's in there. Next thing I'll do is I want to create some user parameters. So I'll type it in to the model shortcuts. And I'll create, let's say we want one that will be diameter. I need to put a thing here, so I'm just going to put 54 for now. And the next thing I want to do is create a standoff. And we'll make it 6 millimeters. And then I'll also make a shell, and this will be 1.5 millimeters. These values will be really easy to change once we apply them, so that's why I'm just setting them up with these numbers. So hit OK. That's going to help us quickly change some things. So the next thing I'm going to do, let me hide that, and I will hit the S key again. I'm going to be using that a lot, and I'll create a new component like that. New component. I could do just about everything in that box. I'm going to name this mount, probably CPX Mount. CPX Mount, hit OK. All right, cool. So now we got that. Next thing I want to do is I want to create an offset plane. So I'll create an offset plane. I'll click and drag, or click and hold. Oh, Fusion likes to do that sometimes. Do it again. Offset plane, select, and then I can change. I can get this depth window, and I'll pick the X and the Y surface, and then what I'll do is you can play around with the arrow to move it, right? But in my case, I'm going to type in standoff because that's the value I want, and I'll put negative, so I'll actually push it down. I'll hit OK. So now we have our offset plane, which we work off of. So I'll select it, create a new sketch like that, and now I'll create a sketch right on top of that construction plane. So from here, I'll grab my circle tool using the hotkey O, and then I can select, I can click right in the center there. I'll get a little square to let me know that it's the center origin. And I'll drag this out. I'll type in diameter, because that is our user parameter that we set up. I'll hit OK. And diameter, hit OK. So there we go. We got that. Cool. Next thing I want to do is I want to project in some of these mounting holes. So I can do that by selecting the mounting hole and hitting the hotkey P for project. And with that window open, I'll go ahead and select some other ones. So I want this corner, and then back over here I want this corner and this corner. There we go. Hit OK. A little hard to see them, so I'm going to hide the Circuit Playground Express board. And now I have my 4 circles, right? We can look at it from the top down like that. Now it's pretty symmetrical, and I want to make these circles, I want to use them rather as just the origins of where the circles are, but not circle themselves, because they're actually a little bit bigger than M3, 3 millimeters. So what I'm going to do, they're like 3.2 or so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it and hit X on my keyboard, and that will make it so that it's not selectable as an entity. And now I can use that origin to create a new circle. This time it's going to be exactly 3. You can see there's some distance between there and there. And then what I'll do is select that circle, hit O for offset, and then I'll type in shell, and that'll give me the shell. So now I need to do that for these 3. So a quick way to do that is just to do a circular pattern. So I'll just type in circular pattern. I'll select those 2 circles, this one and that one. For my center point, I'm just going to select that guy there. I want 3 as the quantity. And you'll see that they're not symmetric, really. They're not really working. That didn't go right at all, because it's going in a circle this way. So I'll hit cancel on that. So instead what we'll do is I'll create a line here. This is just a construction line. And then I'll create another line here. Again, just another construction line. So it doesn't matter what the dimension is, just that they're there. And I'm hitting X on my keyboard to make them those dotted lines. So now I can do is I can select these 2 circles, do a mirror command, and then mirror this out like such. Oh my goodness. And you can see that they're not perfectly symmetrical. These circles are not perfectly symmetrical. So what we're going to have to do is delete that and then make new circles. Just do it 4 times. I'll do X, select the circle, offset, shell. I really thought the circular pattern stuff would have worked well, but it didn't. Sometimes they don't work out. Again, X, and then create a new circle, 3. Whoop. X that one out, offset that one out, put the shell. X, 3, offset, shell that offset. There we go. Okay, so now we have our circle set up. Sorry about that. I thought it was completely symmetrical. It kind of is. It is when you rotate the board. So let's say I were to rotate this guy. If we were to rotate it, you'll see that it is symmetrical. I just don't know why it didn't work that one time. Oh, it's barely symmetrical. At some point, you could probably fit it in, because that's exactly what I did in my real one. Anyway, it's off by a little bit, but not much. But in any manner, there's our main mount base. We can actually name it that. I'll name it base. And then what I'll do is I'll use my extrusion command, hotkey E, and then do a marquee selection. Select all those 9 profiles, and then I'll type in shell. It's actually going up. So I want to go down, so I can just put a negative on that value and go down to retain that 6 millimeter distance I have from this to the bottom of the PCB, which is still 6. Excellent. Let's bring back the base, and then I will select these circles, the ones that took forever to build, and I'll select those, add them to my selection here. So I got 8 profiles selected, and then I can start extruding them out by manipulating the arrow. But a better way to do it is to change the extent from distance to object. Select that bottom PCB, and now I have this dynamic extrusion. So I'll hit OK. Now we can test out our user parameter of standoff. Let's say I have I need it taller, it's 10. You can see it's moving with it. Excellent. This is really good because if we have to put wires or even a battery in between this PCB and the bottom of the base, we can quickly change that value. Excellent. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select these inner circles, one from that area, and then the opposite over here. I'm going to start from object and select the top of this standoff, and then start bringing this up. As a fixed value, I'm just going to type in 2, hit OK. That way we have these nubs that kind of key into those mounting holes. Now, you're probably asking, why don't you do all 4 of them? Mainly because when I did this, as you can see in the photo, it actually was rather difficult to remove the PCB from the mount because these tabs keep it fixed in there. And when you have 4 of those nubs, it's almost impossible without breaking the tabs to remove it. So that's why I only have 2 of them. So it makes it easier to kind of pull apart the tabs, which we're going to build now. So now that I have my standoffs here, I'm actually going to go back into the base. I'm going to add a offset to this main outer guy here and make it go inside before typing in shell. So now I can type in shell. I get this profile that I can select. And what I'll do is I'll make it go up, and then why not have it be dynamic? So I will say I want the extent to object, and again, it'll be the bottom of that PCB there, like that. Make sure the chain faces extends all the way out, or maybe not. All right, extend faces, and hit OK. And that'll join that extrusion to the rest of the body there, so we still have one body. Excellent. The next thing I want to do is I want to create tabs. I want to create some tabs that will hold the PCB down, and it doesn't need to wrap around the whole PCB, just on the edges there, maybe two of them. So what I'll do is I'll select this top surface, and I'll create a new sketch that'll project in the top surface for me into this new sketch. And then what I'll do to create the tabs is just a rectangle. I'll go from here to over here. Let's hide the PCB. And let's hide the PCB. I hit escape and then it came back. And then we can apply some dimensions. So I say I want a distance from this line to the center origin. Let's leave it at 10. And then from here to here, 10 as well. I'm not too concerned about the width of this or the length of it, because as long as it goes beyond this circle, I can select these two entities from the profile, hit E on my keyboard, and bring them up to, let's say, 2 millimeters. And I have those tabs that extend upwards. If we bring back the CPX, you can see how it's kind of working there. So I actually need to make it go a little bit taller, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in these nubs that are going to be sort of a triangle shape. That way it has a 45-degree angle, and it can be 3D printed without any supports, instead of having a 90-degree kind of angle coming up here. So let's go into this extrusion, edit the feature, and just make it maybe 4 or 3. There you go. And it does it to both ends there. Okay. Now I want to draw a profile looking at this way here on the back side. I will create a new sketch, draw on this area. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a triangle. It's going to go something like this. I'm just going to freehand it now, like that. And then you can apply some dimensions. So I'll say I want this to be 2 millimeters tall, and I want a construction line to go from, let's say this becomes like this. If I create a construction line from that point, you can snap to the middle point of this line. And now I can drag this around. If I want an accurate 45-degree, I can just say I want this and that to have an angle of 45. And that is perfect. Not really perfect. The last thing I'll do is I'll select that line. It needs to be a horizontal or a vertical line. So I'll apply a constraint to that, and that constrains it. I do want a distance measurement here. Oh, it says it will be over constrained. So I do not have to apply a measurement to that because it's already set up. Now I can move this around, and it's kind of locked. The size anyway is locked. So now I need to lock this in to this here curve. So I'll select that curve, project it in. It'll turn it into kind of a line because we're looking at it from a 2D plane. And what I'll do is I want this corner to be coincident with this line here. So let's do that now. Hit the coincident button, and it'll push it into place there. So now I have this triangle perfectly on the edge of this curve, looking at it flat on this profile. So now what I can do with that triangle, I'll select it, and then I'll say I want to do a sweep. And I want to sweep that profile along this path. So select path, select that, and then you can see that that is now curved perfectly perpendicular with that curve. So there you go. So hit OK. Now I want to do the same thing for this side over here. But to do it really quick and easy, we can just use a mirror. I'll do a mirror pattern type, set that to features. I'll select that sweep from the timeline. And then for mirror plane, I will choose this face over here, this plane. And I'll hit OK. And that gives it that much. Now, if we look at it with the whole component activated, the whole assembly, you can see here that we're kind of biting into the PCB a little bit too much. So what I'll do is I'll go into this feature and modify that. Maybe put 4, hit OK, and now you can see that we're a little bit above it. Maybe I'll change it to 3 point. Let's go ahead and make a parameter. Tab 3. That's our value. Now inside of this extrusion, we can change that distance from 4 to tab. And now when we have the change parameter window open, we can just gauge visually how much we need. And the 3.5 seems to have done it really well. So there you go. The tab's really long, so we can go into one of these sketches. I think it's this one. And then we can change this to 5, and maybe this one to 5 as well. That way it's a 10 millimeter long. Yep, 10 to 10, there you go. So you have those tabs, very cool. So this will work really well. You can 3D print it as is. There are some things we can do to optimize it, depending on your application, of course. One of the things I'll do is I will create some strain reliefs to these tabs so that they can be pulled apart a little bit easier. So here's what I'll do. I'll look at it from the left side. I will create a rectangle on this side here. It created a new sketch for me. Actually, let's get out of there. I did this wrong. Let's delete that sketch because I am actually outside of the component. You got to make sure to activate the component before working within it. So again, create sketch. It'll be right here. And what I want to do is I want to create a rectangle that will go from here to here. And I want this to go from here. Let's project in this surface, this bottom surface. I'll project that in to the sketch. It'll turn it into a flat line. And now I can use that to create some distance. I want this and this to have some distance, let's say 2 millimeters. And then I want this and that center to have some distance as well, 5. And then the actual slit itself can be 2 millimeters long. So now I have this. This here needs to protrude outwards. It doesn't really matter how far, as long as it goes beyond the top of this. So I could probably just project this line in like that, and then I can lock this line to this line using a collinear like that. And now it's forever stuck in there. There we go. So now with that square selected, I can extrude it out, cut through there. Let's change the direction to symmetric, and that way it'll cut the other end of it too. So now I have these lines, or these slits, that will kind of add some relief to these tabs when we want to pull them apart to remove the PCB. I need to do it on the other side, so let's just go ahead and create a mirror. Features as my pattern type, extrusion from the timeline, and then we'll use this mirror. We'll use that plane to mirror that feature. So there you go. So now we have those slits. And were they 2 millimeters tall? Yeah, 2 millimeter wide, which is good. And then from here we can create some fillets to round these edges out. Why not? Using the fillet command. Let's put 1. Whoop, you gotta be careful which ones you select. There you go, 1. So that's looking pretty nice. We bring back the Circuit Playground PCB. Go to the main component to see it all. Now we have that. Very neat. So now we can modify this as we want, depending on our application. One of the things I like to do is to reduce the print time and reduce the material necessary. I like to create kind of, I like to remove material. So let's select that bottom, project that with the letter P, and then I'll create a circle on the inside. Let's say 34. And then I can extrude that out. And then I have this nice opening at the bottom. I can even put a chamfer here. Let's put shell, and then even fillet out this one with shell. Maybe put a fillet on the inside of this as well. These 3 here, or maybe it's 4, inner corner here. Put 1. There you go. You got a nice rounded fillet there. Very neat. And we can modify this as we want. Let's say we want to go into the sweep, and instead of doing the full path, we can do half of the path maybe. Do a little baby nub if we want, or 0.8 nub, something like that. If we want to reduce the nub so that we can round off these edges here, we can do that too. However you want to do it, depending on your application. For now though, this will work really well as a kind of a standard little thing. One last thing I'll do is I want to create some cutaways for the USB port and the JST connector. So one easy thing we can do is let's activate the CPX Mount so we can work within it. I will select this and these 2 surfaces, and then create a sketch on top of that. That way I can create a simple rectangle rather, and then we can apply our dimensions to it. Let's say I want from here to the center to be 5, and then we repeat that here to here, 5 as well. Again, the length doesn't matter as long as it goes beyond our circle. And then I can create these, looks like I didn't project that in there, but it doesn't matter. I can just select this whole thing. And then cut away, maybe 2 millimeters or so. Now we got a little cutaway. Then when we bring back the CPX, you can see that that gives us a little bit of room for a cable or wire to come out here. Maybe extend that a little bit, maybe 4. And there you go. Now you have your wires that can kind of come through here, which is nice. That's basically what I did. Then you can round these out if you want with 1, or we could have multi-selected from a previous fillet, but hey, it doesn't matter. Sweet. So that's just a quick way to create a mount without any hardware screws to secure something like the Circuit Playground Express. Check it out. I'll have the files down in the description to download the Circuit Playground board and even the mount itself, so you can just print it as is. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys learned something, and I will see you in the next one.